My name is Arya Nguyen. I'm 31 years old, and I know what it costs to stay calm when a storm wants you loud. At 11:15 a.m., during a budget meeting that could have funded a small moon, my phone pulsed against the conference table like a guilty heartbeat. I shouldn't have looked. I did anyway. One glance, and the room emptied of oxygen. Maxed out your card on a girl's trip to Miami. You make enough. Love you. A photo carousel followed. Bottle service, fireworks, sparklers. Designer bags pressed into glossy smiles, first-class seats, a yacht with the horizon sliced into private, expensive silence. The message wasn't from my boyfriend. It was from his ex-girlfriend, Brianna Rodriguez. I typed back, "Glad you had fun." I placed the phone face down, as if I could pin the lie beneath glass. Across the table, ops and finance were arguing about a cloud vendor discount while I did the quiet math of betrayal. That card wasn't for fun. It was my backup, an emergency line I'd given Brianna 3 months earlier, back when she'd just started a job and Evan thought it would be mature if we offered goodwill to make the coexistence smoother. She'd promised then, emergencies only, real emergencies. A new message bubbled in from her, a string of hard-eyed heart emojis and "you're the best." The budget meeting clicked forward. I excused myself with a polite smile that didn't belong to me and walked to my office, shut the door, sat very still, then opened the card app. $14,847.23 over 3 days. I read the merchant names like a ledger of nerve endings. Nobu Miami, Louis Vuitton, Four Seasons Suite, Yacht Rental, Dom Perignon at clubs with names trying too hard. The numbers blurred, but the pattern didn't. No car breakdown, no ER visit, no family emergency. This was an intentional performance of a life she wanted me to subsidize. I scrolled back through old messages. There it was, the night I handed her the card. Me. Emergencies only. Real emergencies. Brianna. Of course, babe. I'd never abuse this. Just peace of mind. I took screenshots, date stamps, the original agreement, today's confession, the purchase list. Documentation is oxygen when someone tries to drown you in narrative. The bank agent was brisk and kind. "We'll freeze the card and send a fraud packet. Will you be filing a police report?" "Yes." My voice surprised me with how uncomplicated it sounded. 20 minutes later, I was under fluorescent lights at the precinct, printing out the evidence at a public copier. The desk sergeant skimmed the stack, eyebrows climbing. "She admits to knowing it was emergencies only, then drops 15 grand on champagne. Plus a yacht." "We see this more than you'd think," he said, almost gently. "A detective will contact her." On the drive back, I realized I'd crossed a line I should have drawn months ago, and not for Brianna, for me. When I got home at 6, the condo smelled like basil and something charred. Evan was in the kitchen, sleeves pushed up, looking like the apology of a holiday card. "You're late," he said. "Too late. I ordered Thai with my card, since yours is acting weird." His laugh was paper thin. "Must be a glitch." I watched him keep his eyes on the pan. He'd been trying lately, a chore chart that actually lived off the fridge instead of dying on it, less doom scrolling, more walks. He'd even said the words boundaries and accountability without flinching the other night. But he had a history with Brianna, a habit of letting her chaos set the room on fire and calling the smoke romance. We ate on the couch. He asked about my day. I told him the part about finance reforecasting Q4, not the part about felony thresholds. He told me he'd run into a mutual acquaintance of theirs, Alexis, Brianna's sister, at the gym, and how awkward it felt. I let the quiet fill the spaces where questions should be. Later, when he reached for me, I kissed his forehead and said I was exhausted. He looked hurt, then folded himself into sleep on his side, the way people do when they're trying to make less noise inside their own bodies. Before dawn, I woke to the particular stillness of a decision that is already made. Work at 7 a.m. is a sanctuary if you move fast. I was at my desk with a coffee no one else would claim, answering Slack pings with the tempo of someone who hadn't filed a police report last night. At 10:02, my phone detonated, vibrations stacked on vibrations. 9 missed calls from Brianna, 12 from numbers I didn't recognize. A text from a contact labeled Mom, Deborah that I had never saved, proof she'd found my number anyway. And one from Alexis. "This is insane. You need to fix what you did. Call me." I didn't, By 2 p.m., the detective had apparently moved faster than anyone expected. The next flood of messages arrived like sirens. Brianna, what the hell, Aria? The police are at my job. Are you serious? This is a misunderstanding. Brianna, call me back now. Brianna, I'm being arrested. Over a little shopping? Then 2 hours of silence. An unknown number lit up. I answered. Aria? This is Monica, Brianna's friend. She's been arrested because you pressed charges. You need to drop them. I reported fraud, I said. The state makes charging decisions. You gave her the card. For emergencies. A yacht is not triage. She's your boyfriend's ex. You're ruining her life over money you can afford to lose. I'm protecting a boundary you all told her didn't matter. Monica launched into a script about control and misogyny and how successful women get punished for wanting joy. I let her finish, then ended the call. I didn't defend myself. Narratives like that aren't about truth. They're about recruiting witnesses. When I reached my building, I paused in the lobby to check the door cam. A notification I'd missed earlier. Motion detected. 12:41 p.m. A still image of Alexis at my door with two bulky guys posturing as human punctuation. I played the clip. We need to talk, Alexis said to the camera, tossing her hair like courtroom evidence. One of the men stepped forward, shoulders squared. I pressed talk on the intercom even though it was hours later. You're trespassing. I'm recording, and the building is too. Leave now. They exchanged looks and wedged a flyer in my door jamb. Call me. I saved the video to a folder named Harassment. Inside, I packed Brianna's remaining items into taped boxes, things that had drifted into our place during the last throes of their on-again/off-again era before Evan and I were serious. In a notebook labeled Manifestation Goals, she'd written clean bullet points in perfect loops. Miami, check. Get Aria to pay off my student loans. Move into a luxury apartment. Convince Evan to propose by end of year. I photographed every page and set the notebook on top of the boxes by the door. I wasn't going to throw away evidence that was also a mirror. At 6:37 p.m., Evan came home, hair wet from a shower he'd taken at the gym, because that's where men go to decide if they're brave enough to tell the truth. He saw the boxes and stopped short. What's this? Brianna's, I said. What's left of it? Aria? His voice broke on my name. Did you call the police? I filed a report, I said. The texts were explicit. You know they were. He scrubbed a hand over his face. She's not well. She's not entitled to my money. He stared at the notebook like it might bite him. I didn't know about this. I believe you, I said, and I did. Believing him and protecting myself were not mutually exclusive. I also need you to understand that my boundary isn't an attack. He nodded, but his eyes were the complicated kind. Guilt and leftover attachment, shame, and a tremor of relief that I'd done what he should have done months ago. That night, I sent the building footage to Tom, my lawyer friend, with a succinct note. Need a restraining order filed, also documenting harassment. He replied within minutes. Drafting. Proud of you. Proud. The word landed somewhere behind my ribs. I brushed my teeth, washed my face, and crawled into bed. The condo was quiet except for the tick of the thermostat and the unfamiliar way my breathing sounded when it wasn't racing to keep up with someone else's chaos. I turned off the light and let the dark tell the truth. I didn't ruin anything. I refused to fund a fantasy. And fantasies, when they meet a boundary, call it cruelty. By Thursday at 2 p.m., the detective's visit to Brianna's office had already become a group chat legend. I didn't learn it from the detective. My phone told the story first. 63 missed calls, a scroll of texts that bounced between indignation and panic, and then the sudden quiet people mistake for dignity. Evan stood in our galley kitchen rinsing a glass he didn't need to rinse. They actually arrested her? He asked, as if the word were a superstition. They served her at work, I said. Processing, not prison. She's out on recognizance. His shoulders dropped an inch, then stiffened again. Aria, she's going to come here. She already sent people, I said, tapping the door cam thumbnail, where Alexis flanked two men like a punctuation mark. Trespassing, it's documented. He set the glass down with careful precision. What do you need me to do? Mean it when you say you're on my side, I said, and be ready for noise. The noise arrived the next morning in the shape of Brianna herself, at 9:14 a.m., mascara pooled beneath her eyes like rainwater. She wore sweatpants that tried to pass as humility and a hoodie with a luxury monogram at the wrist, the truth peeking out like a tell. When I opened the door, the width of the chain, she launched into her script. "Aria, please," she started, voice already cracked. "I'm sorry, I got carried away. I'll pay it all back." "How?" I asked, not unkindly. "You make 42 a year. You have 30 in student loans. The math is an indictment. I'll get a second job, I'll sell my stuff." "You already tried to sell a bag you posted online wearing," I said. "It was reported. You know how the internet works." Her eyes flashed. "You went through my things." "Your things were in my home," I said, keeping my tone even. "There's an eviction notice in the envelope. 72 hours to collect the boxes. After that, it's storage with fees." Tears, real or rehearsed, filled the silence. She tried another key on the ring. "I wasn't stealing. You gave me the card. You knew I needed it." "For emergencies," I said, the word landing like a gavel. "Boat rentals and bottle service are not urgent care." Her posture shifted from supplicant to plaintive. I was having a mental health crisis. Self-care is an emergency. "Therapy is self-care," I said. "Therapy is available in and out of jail." She stared through the inch of chain. "You're vindictive." "I'm consistent," I said. At the end of the hall, Mrs. Patterson, our retired neighbor, with perfect posture and a hobby of knowing things, closed her door with exaggerated slowness and then opened it again, a correction to the theatrical timing. "Young lady," she called down the corridor in a voice that had once closed arguments, "you just admitted on camera to taking her card for non-emergencies." "Mind your business," Brianna snapped, heat blooming through the smear of mascara. "You don't even know—" "I prosecuted for 23 years, Mrs. Patterson said, serene as a bench. $15,000 in fraudulent charges tends to look like prison time, sweetheart." Brianna's face went blank. Rage flattened into something thinner, colder. She pivoted back to the door. "You're a monster," she said to me, "a petty monster who will die alone." "The restraining order paperwork is in motion," I said. "Leave now, or I call the police to expedite." She left in a rush of footsteps, the air still vibrating with her exit. I exhaled and slid the chain free with fingers that didn't feel like mine. Evan hovered in the kitchen doorway, face pale. "I should have never involved you," he said, the last word landing like a bruise. "You did involve me," I said gently, "when you asked me to be the grown-up for both of us." He flinched. "That's fair." By lunch, the counterattack had shifted online. Deborah, Brianna's mother, managed to reach my company by pretending to be a client. She bypassed voicemail, and for 10 surreal minutes, her accusation, "Your employee is ruining my daughter's life over a misunderstanding," sat on my boss's calendar in all caps. He called me in with the cautious tone used for employees who bring homemade yogurt to work. I brought a file instead, screenshots with timestamps, a copy of the police report, the full ledger of charges, my original text warning, and the confession. "Jesus," he said, reviewing the stack. 15 grand in Miami? He looked up. "Is she insane?" "Opinion or diagnosis?" I asked. It was easier to stand upright with humor in my mouth. He winced. "Take the afternoon if you need it." "I'm okay," I said. "Work is a better sound than panic." But panic refused to be quiet. It showed up as a dozen one-star reviews from new accounts, accusing me by name of abuse, of financial control, of weaponizing the legal system against successful women. HR flagged them, launched an internal check, then sent a terse cease and desist to Deborah's personal email and the Facebook page where she'd set up a single-purpose smear campaign before lunch. I went home early to a lobby that didn't yet know my name had been put into sentences it didn't earn. In the elevator, I watched my reflection practice neutrality. When the doors opened, Alexis was waiting in the hall again, alone this time, arms crossed, hard enough to splint something. "We need to talk," she said. "No, we don't," I said, unlocking my door. "You need to leave." "She's going to lose her job." "She lied on expense reports," I said. "That one's not on me." "You make 6 figures," Alexis said, as if reading the charge out of a file. 15,000 is nothing to you. "I'm not a bank. An entitlement isn't an income bracket." She took a step forward. I lifted my phone. "We're recording. Stay on your side of the hall." "You think you're so righteous," she hissed. "You stole my sister's boyfriend." "I did not," I said, exhaustion scraping my voice. "She lost him the way she loses everything. By believing other people's boundaries are decorative." She laughed then, a brittle sound. "You have no idea who you're messing with." I have a restraining order filing with your last visit on video, I said. I have an attorney who answers my texts, and I have a door that closes. It closed. After the deadbolt slid, I sagged against the wood and let myself shake for 30 seconds. Then I stood up and cooked dinner. I wish I could tell you Evan was brave that night, that he lit a match and burned the last of his guilt to ash. But bravery is a discipline, not an impulse. He sat across from me with a fork poised over his plate, practicing apologies he didn't yet know how to deliver. I hate that she called your work, he said at last. I hate that she had my number, I said. We both stared at the place where our hates shook hands. By Sunday, Brianna tried the last key in her ring. Penitence. She came back hollow-eyed, voice threadbare. Please, Arya, I'm not okay. The pressure online, everyone's lives are perfect. I just wanted to feel like mine was too. I need help, not this. She gestured vaguely, as if the word consequences were indecent. You can get help, I said. You can start by telling the truth without a camera rolling. I'll go to therapy, she said. I'll even apologize to you online. You'll take the plea your lawyer offered, I said. You'll pay restitution. You'll stop framing theft as empowerment. At the word plea, the penitent snapped. I'm not pleading guilty, she spat. I had permission. He gave me the card. He didn't, I said softly. I did. Her mouth opened and closed. For a moment, the hallway was the inside of a heartbeat. You think Evan will stay with you after this? She said finally, so low it felt like a draft. You think men like him marry women like you? Cold women who count receipts? I didn't blink. I think men like him get to decide who they become, I said. But I'm done subsidizing anyone's becoming. She left like a storm emptied of water. No thunder, just distance. I stood at the peephole longer than necessary, watching nothing happen until it felt safe again. Monday morning, HR's email landed with the clarity of a gavel. They had documented the harassment, issued a cease and desist to Deborah, and referred the review bombing to legal. The company's social team swept the pages clean. The smear campaign wobbled and then collapsed on itself because lies require constant reinvestment, and Deborah had a day job. At lunch, Tom called. Restraining order is filed. I also drafted a formal no-contact letter to Alexis. You'll get a packet to sign tonight. Thank you, I said, my spine remembering it was designed to hold weight. There's something else, I added, almost as an afterthought. In her notebook, Brianna had bullet points. One said, get Arya to pay off my student loans. Tom whistled. That's not manifestation. That's a business plan with you as the investor. Not anymore, I said. I sent him the photos anyway. Evidence sits quietly until you need it to testify. By evening, a quiet settled that felt less like peace and more like the pause before a verdict. Evan came home with a bag of groceries he didn't know how to turn into dinner. He stood in the doorway of the kitchen, looking at me like a man returning to a house he used to own. I told Alexis to stop, he said. Blocked her number. Good, I said. I also called Brianna's mother, he added, voice careful. Told her to stop contacting your company. Told her I wasn't going to fix this, that this is between Brianna and the state now. I studied his face for caveats, for hidden rescue missions. I didn't find any. Something in my chest let go of its clawed grip. I'm on your side, he said, finally sounding like a man who'd chosen a shore. Really? I nodded. Hold the line, I said. Outside our windows, the city moved forward like it always does. Sirens somewhere else, laughter on a different floor, a motorcycle stitching a quick seam through traffic. Inside, I rinsed the rice, lit the burner, and set the pot to simmer. I didn't feel victorious. I felt accurate. Boundaries are not weapons, they are maps. And mine, finally, had edges. The following week arrived carrying the weight of a courtroom and the echo of every lie Brianna had ever rehearsed. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for Tuesday morning. I dressed like composure, navy blazer, white shirt, hair pinned, makeup that said professional but not performative. Evan insisted on driving me. He said he just wanted to be there, but I knew part of him still wanted to see her with his own eyes, maybe to confirm that the person who once smiled at him could also forge her own downfall. The courthouse smelled like coffee and fear. When Brianna walked in, she looked smaller than her stories. Hair brushed into compliance, posture rehearsed, a borrowed suit that still had tailoring pins in the cuffs. Her mother, Deborah, sat behind her with folded arms. Alexis adjusted her phone like she was live streaming her disapproval. The prosecutor began with the facts. A card issued for emergencies, a clear written agreement, $14,847 spent in 3 days. The text: maxed out your card, but you make enough. Then came the defense. Miss Rodriguez believed she had implied permission to use the card, her public defender offered, voice thinning with every syllable. The judge raised an eyebrow. Miss Rodriguez, did you write maxed out the card, but you make enough lol? Yes, Brianna whispered. Did Miss Nguyen, he gestured toward me, ever tell you that you could use this card for personal travel or luxury purchases? No. Did you believe the trip to Miami qualified as an emergency? I was having a mental health crisis, she said quickly. The judge's tone didn't waver. A crisis requiring a yacht rental and Louis Vuitton? Her lawyer's whisper hissed like static. The judge exhaled. This case will proceed to trial. Bail remains as set. Miss Rodriguez, you may wish to consider a plea deal. Behind her, Deborah squeezed her daughter's shoulder as if sympathy could change the evidence. Alexis glared at me, the kind of glare that hopes to ignite guilt. I stayed still. Stillness is stronger than rage. Outside, the air felt metallic. Deborah caught up to me on the courthouse steps. You're destroying her future, she said, voice sharp with maternal panic. She destroyed it herself, I replied. I just stopped paying the bills for her mistakes. She'll lose her job. She already has. The pause stretched. Then she whispered, You could make this go away. I could, I said, but that would teach her nothing. My lawyer, Tom, stepped between us. No further contact, ma'am. There's a restraining order in place. Deborah scoffed. All this over money you can afford to lose. He smiled politely. The victim's income doesn't determine whether a crime is a crime. That night, news traveled fast, faster than reason. By morning, social media had crowned me the villain. Brianna's post appeared on every platform she'd ever used. My controlling ex's new girlfriend is trying to ruin my life. I used a card she gave me, and now she's having me arrested. This is what happens when insecure women can't handle other women living their dreams. The comments were predictable. Her friends rushed to her defense. Men and their jealous girlfriends ruin everything, one wrote. Another chimed in. 15,000 is nothing to people like them. But then a stranger asked, Wait, how much did you spend exactly? Silence. Then someone else found the public arrest record. $14,847, girl. That's not empowerment. That's felony theft. Within hours, the tide turned. Screenshots circulated. She deleted the post, but the internet has a memory that never forgets. 3 days later, Tom called again. You're not going to believe this, he said. Brianna's been fired. My stomach didn't twist. It sighed. How? My paralegal sister works at her company. They found out about the arrest when she missed work Monday, then discovered she'd been expense reporting personal lunches as client meetings. Small stuff, but enough for termination with cause. She was stealing there too, I said quietly. Apparently. They're not pressing charges, just cutting ties. I rubbed my temples. What about her friends? She owes them $3,000 for the yacht. They're threatening small claims court. I almost laughed. The house of cards is collapsing, Tom chuckled. It gets better. Remember that self-care podcast she used to rave about? She's recording an episode with them tomorrow. Title, When Love Turns to Legal Warfare. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Of course she is. The podcast dropped that weekend. 45 minutes of selective truth polished into victimhood. He and his new girlfriend are punishing me for being free, she said, voice quivering just enough to sound rehearsed. I used a credit card he gave me. He never said I couldn't travel. It's called empowerment, not theft. Then the host, Nicole, asked a question that sliced through the script. Did he tell you it was only for emergencies? Well, yeah, but mental health is an emergency. So, just to be clear, you didn't have explicit permission for the Miami trip. Nicole, whose side are you on? Chairs scraped. Recording stopped. By Monday, the clip was viral. Not because people believed her, but because of the awkward silence that followed that last question. The prosecutor added the podcast to evidence. Her public defender quit. She had to find another one. Meanwhile, Evan and I tiptoed around the wreckage like two people rebuilding on a fault line. He made dinner every night that week. Quiet offerings of pasta and apologies. I caught him scrolling through Brianna's deleted social posts once. He didn't realize I saw. He was looking not out of love, but out of disbelief. The way survivors revisit the site of a car crash, just to confirm it really happened. I keep thinking about how she used to talk about manifesting abundance, he said one night, voice low. I thought it was harmless. Entitlement always sounds harmless at first, I said, until it has your signature on it. He nodded, eyes tired. You were right to report it. I wasn't trying to be right, I said. I was trying to be safe. He took my hand, and for once, there wasn't guilt in the gesture, just gravity. By the end of that week, Brianna's empire of borrowed confidence was collapsing in real time. The luxury items she'd posted online became exhibits against her. The yacht rental company pursued her for damages, $5,000 for champagne stains and scratched decking. Even her manifestation coach dropped her as a client. The world she built on delusion had turned into a courtroom stage, and every witness was holding a receipt. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. The kind of tired that doesn't ask for sleep, but for peace. That Friday night, Evan found me on the balcony, laptop open, city lights flickering like a lie that finally lost its rhythm. She's burning everything down, he said softly. She was always holding a match, I replied. For a long while, we said nothing. Below us, the city kept moving, indifferent, alive, honest in its noise. And as the wind shifted through the glass railing, I realized something I hadn't before. Brianna wasn't the only one unraveling a story she'd built on fiction. So was I. Because peace doesn't come when the villain loses. It comes when you finally stop needing to prove you're right. The plea deal came wrapped in the quiet language of surrender. Brianna's new lawyer, an overworked public defender named Mr. Fredericks, reached out to Tom first. She's ready to plead, he said. Anything that keeps her out of prison. The final offer was clear. Guilty plea to felony theft, 3 years probation, full restitution of $14,847.23, and 300 hours of community service. The felony could be reduced to a misdemeanor if she completed everything successfully. Fair, merciful, even. Evan drove with me to the courthouse that morning. The city looked half awake, draped in fog, like it didn't want to witness what was coming. When Brianna entered the courtroom, her confidence was gone. No designer bag, no curated humility, just exhaustion in heels, too tight. The judge read the terms aloud, one by one. Each word landed like a stone in water. Do you understand that you are pleading guilty to felony theft? Yes. Do you understand this will remain on your record until probation is completed? Yes. Do you understand you must pay full restitution to the credit card company? Her voice cracked. Yes. When the gavel came down, I felt neither triumph nor closure, just stillness. Because sometimes justice doesn't feel like victory. It feels like silence returning to a room that's been too loud for too long. Outside, Deborah intercepted us again. You destroyed her life, she hissed. No, ma'am, I said quietly. She destroyed her own. I just refused to pay for the damage. Evan stepped forward this time. It's done, Deborah. Let it be. But she didn't. She stood on the courthouse steps crying, like grief could rewrite the verdict. The next few weeks unfolded like a slow demolition. Brianna's Instagram vanished. First private, then gone. Her Miami friends sued her in small claims court and won another $3,000. The yacht company got a separate judgment for the deck damage. She started community service at a local food bank, handing out canned soup in the same city where she used to post champagne toasts. Restitution payments, $200 a month for 6 years. Tom sent me the paperwork, and I filed it in a digital folder labeled Resolution, though it felt nothing like that. Evan and I had begun healing in increments. Boundaries became our new love language, separate bank accounts, separate cards, even separate passwords. He planned a trip for us, Costa Rica, in 6 months, his idea of a fresh start. I'll handle my own bookings, I said with a small smile. He grinned. Lesson learned. For a while, peace almost felt believable. Then one Friday evening, my phone buzzed with a notification from my credit monitoring app. Alert. New credit inquiry in your name. My blood went cold. I hadn't applied for anything. I called the company immediately. The agent on the line hesitated. Ma'am, it looks like someone attempted to open a card using your personal information. Your full name, SSN, and income. Did they use my current address? No, an old address. It appears to be a previous residence shared with an E. Cole. I closed my eyes. And the name on the authorized user line? Brianna Rodriguez. The room tilted, She had used an old pay stub. She still had my data from when we lived together. The agent confirmed that my credit freeze stopped the application before it went through, but it didn't stop the déjà vu. It didn't stop the fury. By morning, the police report was filed. Again, Tom contacted the probation office. It was a clear violation. Identity theft during probation was more than reckless. It was self-destruction. The violation hearing took place 2 weeks later. Same courtroom, different energy. Brianna looked thinner, deflated, but still trying to smile for a camera that wasn't there. The judge flipped through the documents with the weary patience of someone rereading the same mistake. Miss Rodriguez, you attempted to apply for a credit card using Miss Nguyen's personal information, correct? It was a mistake, she said quickly. I thought it was my own application. You memorized her social security number by accident? I was confused. Confused enough to also list her employer and salary? Her lawyer sank a little lower in his chair. The judge closed the folder with finality. Probation revoked. 18 months in minimum security. Deborah screamed. Alexis cried. Brianna fainted. Actually fainted. And when court officers helped her up, she looked straight at me. You destroyed my life over money, she spat. The judge's voice cut through the air before I could answer. No, Miss Rodriguez. You destroyed your life over money that wasn't yours. They led her away in handcuffs. Deborah followed, screaming my name down the hallway. I didn't turn around. Evan put a hand on my shoulder, but I couldn't feel it. Because relief is heavy, not light. It doesn't float. It settles deep and quiet. That night, Tom called. She's being processed now, minimum security, probably out in 12 months if she behaves. Thank you, I said. You did everything right, Arya, he said. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. I nodded, though he couldn't see me. Doing everything right doesn't always feel right. But peace had finally stopped hiding. I looked out the window at the city, all its lights blinking like tiny verdicts, and whispered the truth I'd been circling for months. Justice isn't revenge. It's clarity, and clarity is worth more than $15,000. The next morning felt weightless in a way I hadn't expected. The city moved at its usual pace, traffic lights pulsing, sirens in the distance, but something inside me had gone still. After nearly a year of chaos, the noise had finally stopped. Brianna Rodriguez was now inmate number 54763 in a minimum security facility 2 hours outside the city. She would serve 18 months, possibly less with good behavior. Her name would sit in a public record, carved where even filters couldn't hide it. Evan brewed coffee, the scent curling into the quiet like a peace offering. He slid a mug across the counter toward me. Feels weird, he said softly, like it's finally over. It's never really over, I replied, but it's contained now. He nodded, then hesitated. Do you feel bad for her? I thought about it longer than I expected to. I don't feel bad, I said finally. I feel finished. That's different. He reached across the table, fingers brushing mine. You did the right thing. Sometimes the right thing just feels like the only thing, I said. No one should get to rewrite reality and call it love. Outside, autumn had started to arrive, slow and certain. Leaves blushed gold along the sidewalks. The air tasted like endings that didn't hurt anymore. Deborah sent one last email before I blocked her completely. You could have shown mercy. You could have saved her. I didn't reply. Mercy had already been offered. In the plea deal, in every chance before the line she chose to cross twice. Mercy doesn't mean shielding someone from consequence. It means letting truth do the work we can't. Alexis posted online about class traitors and vindictive women. It went nowhere. The comments were quiet this time. People had seen too much evidence to believe fairy tales. 3 weeks later, Evan and I booked our Costa Rica trip. Separate cards, separate itineraries. It wasn't about distrust anymore. It was about respect, about proving we could build something transparent, not tangled. At the airport, waiting for our flight, he looked at me over the rim of his coffee cup. Would you ever give someone access to your finances again? I smiled faintly. Maybe someday, if we sign our names to the same mortgage first. He laughed, and for the first time, it didn't sound nervous. Back home, I received a letter from the credit card company. They were pursuing criminal restitution through the court. I'd probably never see that $14,847.23 again, and that was fine. The money was gone. The lesson stayed. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Entitlement doesn't fade, it escalates. You make enough was never a compliment. It was a confession, a warning disguised as charm. Months later, I drove past the courthouse on my way to work. Same stone steps, same heavy doors. But it looked smaller now, as if the building itself had exhaled the weight we'd all carried inside it. I rolled the window down, breathed in the air, and realized I didn't feel angry anymore. Not at Brianna. Not even at the version of me who stayed polite while being manipulated. The anger had turned into something else, understanding. Boundaries aren't built to punish people. They're built to protect peace. Evan reached over from the passenger seat, fingers lacing through mine. We didn't need to talk about it. We just drove. In another world, Brianna might have learned that same lesson. That success isn't borrowed and love isn't leverage. But we don't get to rewrite other people's endings, only live through our own. The sky ahead opened wide and clean, and for the first time in months, I felt what real freedom sounded like. Not silence, not revenge, just the calm hum of a story finally done telling itself.